by giving all praises to the Most High, and we do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. I know y'all see the title. We're gonna talk about Lord's blessings and things that He promised, and get a little insight on how He operate. You know, and and for starters, we're gonna get right into it because you know what they like to do. We're gonna start up with Deuteronomy 28. A lot of times we'll go to this chapter to prove that we Israelites, but a lot of times we don't really focus too much on the blessing part. So yeah, we're gonna start at Deuteronomy 28:1, right? And it reads, "And it shall come to pass, if thou should hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee above all nations." So that's what the promise and the part of the blessing that we are to receive, to be set above all nations. And it says, "And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God." And we know the word hearken means to listen, to observe and listen, right? "Blessed shall thou be in the city, and blessed shall thou be in the field." Meaning, we'll be blessing these cities that we live in instead of living under these generational curses that we have been experiencing. And it says, blessed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of the ground. Meaning, we'll be able to accumulate wealth, and our children will be doing well. We'll be able to pass that generational wealth down to our family. And it says, the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. Meaning we'll be able to, like I said, once again, to maintain what we have. Blessed shall thou be when thou comest, and blessed when thou be when thou goest. Meaning you'll be born into, a blessed situation. Then when you die, you will leave a blessed situation to your children. That way, a lot of times, people struggle to bury their loved ones, especially if they don't have like life insurance or burial insurance. So a lot of times people struggle to kind of get the money together, or be a lot of complications, dealing with that. But it's saying you'll be blessed when you come into this world, and blessed when you actually leaving out. And that's not the case for a lot of us. And it says, "And the Lord shall cause thy enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. Thou shalt come against thee one way and flee in 7 ways." Meaning, God is not going to allow our enemies to overtake us and, cause harm to us. And it says, "And the Lord shall command the blessings upon thee in thy storehouse and in all that thou settest thy hand unto. And he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God given thee." So, we'll just continue being blessed. That's self-explanatory. "And the Lord shall establish thee a holy people unto himself, as he has sworn unto thee, if thou keep the commandments of Yahweh thy power, and walk in his ways." So that's, the requirement. We got to keep his commandments and follow, the laws of God that, that was subscribed to us, and so we can receive these different blessings, or have these blessings. A lot of times we think we're being blessed, but then, you know, sometimes you might, certain things might end up happening, then now you're back to square one again. But for we can have that continuing blessing and have them looking out for us, we got to keep these commandments. And it says, "And the Lord, and all the people of the earth shall see, uh, see thou art called by the name of Yahweh, and they shall be afraid of thee. So all the other nations outside of Israel will see how we're conducting ourselves and living our life, and they ain't gonna want to mess with us. Right now we are the most unprotected people in the world. You know, but once we come back to our, these commandments and our culture, our heritage, they're not gonna want to deal with us because they're gonna know that we are the people of God. And then it says, and the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, and the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Lord sware unto to give to thee. And the Lord shall open unto thee good treasures in the heavens to give rain unto thy land in its season. Meaning, it's gonna the blessings gonna come in cycles. They're gonna be in cycles, just like how like when you harvest, certain crops gotta grow in a certain, time, during a certain time of the year. So he's saying these blessings gonna come in cycles. You know, um, and it says the Lord shall open up unto thee good treasures in the heavens to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to the bless all the work of thy hand, and thou shalt lend unto many nations. And a lot of times we're not lending to many nations. We're going to these cash loan places to get, to help out with our certain bills that we might have to take care of. But if we come back to who we are, what we're supposed to do, we will be actually the lenders. And where we at? And thou shalt not borrow, and the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only. So that's our rightful place to be above, and prosperous amongst these nations. And we can look at those people with the curly hair on the side and the small hats, and we can see, they're somewhat keeping our commandments, somewhat keeping the laws that was given to us, and we can see how prosperous they are. So for people to say, well, the Bible is not applicable today, look at those people with the curly hair and the small hats. They apply these laws of the Bible amongst themselves, and look how prosperous they are. And they're not even the real people. So imagine if the real people of this book, the descendants of these people that we read about in this book, actually put this to use. How powerful we'll actually be, right? So then, it says, "And the Lord will make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. And if thou hearken unto the commandments of Yahweh thy power, which I command thee this day to observe and do them." Right? So that's what we got to be doing. We got to follow these commandments and observe them and do them so we can receive these blessings. "And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day to the right hand or to the left hand, to go after other gods and serve them." And that's what we, have to not do. Follow these other false religions and these other gods that a lot of our people is mixed up in. And and we don't understand that. A lot of times we get caught up in me, I. And we don't understand that it's the Most High God Yahweh that gives these blessings out and decides who get blessed and who don't get blessed. He has the power to do these things. So we can go to let's go to Samuel. Let's go to 1 Samuel 2:8 real quick. And it reads, "He raised up the poor out of the dust." So he's the one that take a poor man and give him that bag and cause him to, to prosper now. That once poor person used to see standing on the corner, not, somewhat not doing whatever, but now this person is, riding nice, dressing nice, looking clean. So the Most High Yahweh did that because he's the one that he raises up the poor out of the dust and lifts up the beggar from the dunghill. So he can take somebody that's panhandling on the streets begging for money, or somebody that's always, how somebody say, oh, this person always begging. He can take them and put them in a position where they're not begging and they're not poor. It says, he lift up the beggar from the dunghill and set them among princes and make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, Yahweh, and he has set the world upon them. Meaning, this is his world, his planet, his earth. He created everything, so he can get. He the one that hands out these gifts to people. That everybody, once they get these gifts, they forgot where it came from, and they be like, oh, me, I. I got it out the mud. You know how people say, but not understanding that you didn't get it out the mud. The Most High God gave it to you. And once we remember that, and that's why sometimes these blessings that we do get, since we so high and mighty, thinking that we got it by our own strength, a lot of times they don't last that long as they should. You have somebody that's doing good, they on Facebook posting all this money, then when you see them, they on the bus. And that's how it go. Then let's go to James real quick. Let's see what James, Jesus' brother, said. His little brother said. And I like letting it be known that James is Jesus' brother or Yahweh's brother, because a lot of people don't think that Jesus has siblings. But yeah, let's go to James 2:5. And it says, hearken my beloved, uh, brethren, have not God chosen the poor of this world, right? So it says, hearken my beloved, have not Yahweh chosen the poor of this world, right? So just jump. We're gonna get back to that. Let's go to Revelation 2:9 real quick. So Revelation 2:9 says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. So, like I said, so we see in James 2:5, it says, hearken, my beloved brethren, have not God chosen the poor of this world, uh, and rich in faith. So we're rich in faith. So when we see in Revelation 2:9, it says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty. So God knows that his people collectively are poor, but he's telling us that we are rich in spirit, because the kingdom is, for us, how they say in basketball, we got next, you know what I'm saying? And we got next forever. So just get back to James real quick, 2:5, finish it up. And it says, hearken, my beloved brethren, have not God chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom, because we got next. Like I just said, we got next. And the heirs of this kingdom, which he have promised to them that love him, right? So just jump back to Revelation 2:9. It says, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. So we just read that in James, that he chose the poor of the world, which is the black, Hispanic, and Native American, the children of Israel. It says, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogues of Satan. So he's not dealing with those people with the curly hair and the small hats. They're not the poor of the world. They own a lot of different things, and we can see how they able to shut down certain things when somebody speak against them. So they're not the poor of the world. But he said he had chosen the poor of the world, and we know who that is, here in Babylon. So let's go to Job real quick. Let's go to Job 1:21. So Job 1:21 says, and because like I said, we got to understand that he, as far as this, he's the one that gives out these blessings. It's not by the strength of our own hand. It's what Yahweh does. It's how he hands them out. And like I said, so yeah, you can say you got it out the mud, but a lot of times when we say that, we're not giving credit to the Most High. And it says, and said, naked I came out of my mother's womb. Meaning we came in this world with nothing. You're born in this world not having nothing. You come in this world naked. And naked shall I return hither. The Lord give and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of Yahweh. So God is the one that gives and He take away. So like you might just buy a car, then all of a sudden your car just break down on you. So then yeah, you might have a lot of plans and stuff to do, but you gotta understand that's a piece of machinery, and the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Sometimes it's not sometimes all the time it's for a reason. We just gotta understand that reason and understand that Yahweh does these things. Sometimes to humble us or sometimes to build us up. Which at the same time is humbling us once you understand the experience. So it says, it says, um, and said, naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return hither. And the Lord give, and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of Yahweh. So that's what we got to understand. He's the one that give out these blessings, and He gives, and He can take away. You know, and so things come and go in cycles all the time. So we can't get tripped up because one day we was living like a star, and now now we dead broke. So now we out here feeling depressed. Because we got to understand that this is God's movie. He's the director. He gives and He take away, and we just got to play our part. And that's why it also tells you don't be in such a haste to get out of trouble because it's always a lesson in things. You gotta be wise enough and ask the Lord to show you what is that lesson in that problem that you're going through, so you can be able to maneuver through it. Cause like I was telling you last time, God teaches like a teacher in school. A teacher goes over a lesson several times until that person gets it. So that's how God do. He might have you go through a certain event over and over again. You always ask yourself like, dang, why I keep going through this? Why do I got to go through this? Because maybe that lesson that He's trying to show you, you haven't got it yet. So He's trying to allow you to go through these experiences until you finally figure out how to maneuver through it, right? So it says, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, right? So let's get Job, get one more in Job. Let's get Job 36 and 7 real quick. And it says, Job 36 and 7 says, He withdraw not His eyes from the righteous. Meaning, He's going to take care of His people. As long as you're doing your end of the bargain, trying to keep close to Him, seeking Him first. How to say, the Hawashah says, seek the kingdom first and everything else will follow, right? It says, He will withdraw not His eyes from the righteous, but with kings are they on the throne, yeah, He doeth establish them forever, and they are exalted. Meaning, He gonna make sure you straight. You know what I'm saying? As long as you doing what He asks you to do and not dealing in wickedness and folly, He's gonna make sure you straight. Then those blessings you receive, they will last. It won't be for a short period of time. You'll be able to enjoy those different fruits of your labor in blessings. So, we got to keep that in mind. And so let's get Psalms 113 real quick. Let's see, Psalms 113. Let's start at 7. So, and it says, he raises up the poor out of the dust. See, there we go again. He raises the poor out of the dust. And that dust is a low state, like somebody that's doing bad, how we might say. Somebody that's not, don't got their stuff together, for the lack of a better term. It says, He raises up the poor out of the dust and lift the needy out of the dunghill. Meaning He can take you from that spot of begging people for money every so often, or depending on somebody to do something for you. He can take you out of it. He can put you in that state and He can take you out of that state. That's why you can't be so proud neither, because a lot of us be so proud, but then not knowing that you can lose all that just like that. For example, Kanye was a billionaire, and this nigga lost $2 billion overnight. Like, you can't do that with a good crack habit. So that's how quick stuff can go. So not even the best dope fiend can lose burn $2 billion up in an hour in one day, 24 hours. So, and that's the Lord. He can give and He take away. You know. So then he says he raises up the poor out of the dust and lifts the needy out of the dunghill. You know, so he does all these things. You know, and just let's see what I want. Let's get let's go back to let's go to Psalms again. I think I want yeah, let's see, I want the yeah, let's get Psalms 107 and 41, right? And it says, "Yet sitteth the poor on high from affliction, and mark him his families like a flock." Uh, so he, so like I said, he yet sitteth sitteth he the poor on high from affliction, meaning he can take you from your hardships, your hard times that you're going through. He can remove you from that affliction. But we just have to do our end of the bargain, which keep His commandments, seek Him first, and and follow the laws. It says, uh, he can. He sitteth. Hold on, let me read it right. Yet sitteth he the poor on high from affliction, and mark him families like a flock. Right. So that's what He can do. He can take you out of that. That bad position that you in. Let's get another one in Psalms. Let's get Psalms 59 and 1. Oh, cause like I said, and he's, like I said, he controls all this stuff, and we gotta understand that. And it says, to the chief musician, Alatasif, if how you say that, Misham and David, when Saul sent, and they watched the house to kill him, meaning they was trying to kill David. Deliver me from my enemies, oh God, defend me from them that rise up against me. So, like I said, He'll defend you against those people that try to come against you. He will, like I said, not only can He take you out of your affliction and your hardship that you're going through, He can cause those people that's trying to cause you harm, and He can remove them out of your way. You know, and that's what He specializes in. He specializes in cleanup, getting those people that's not good for you out of the way. You know what I'm saying? And that's what He do. You know what I'm saying? And to double down, let's go to Deuteronomy real quick. So we just running through this real quick, and just a little quick lesson about like just how these blessings come, and what we need to do to ensure that we are like being blessed, especially in these last days. So this is Deuteronomy 1. I'm gonna probably read the 3. And it shall come to pass when all these things are upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether the Lord had driven thee. Because we got driven to all these different nations through conquering, slavery, colonialism. So we all in these different nations throughout the world. And shall return unto the Yahweh thy power, and shall obey His voice according to all that I command thee this day. So we have to remember, come back to our nationality and our culture. And thou and thy children with all thy heart and all thy soul. Then the Lord thy God will return thy captivity. So He's going to take us out of captivity from the shores of America and all these other places that we're scattered to. And then the Lord be driven out unto the outmost path. And then and then the Lord thy God will return thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whether the Lord God has scattered thee. So that's what we, looking for, especially in these last days where we can be gathered from all these different nations that He scattered us to. But like I said, it's His movie. He the one that sets us up high and sets us down low. He the one that put other nations above us and cause us to be the tail instead of the head. So we got to go back to following what He says. Like I said, those people with the curly hair and the small hats, they stole our thing, and they're following these laws. And we can look at them as how prosperous they are, even though they're doing it wickedly. But we can see how, how they're able to function, and they're not even the people. So imagine if us being the real people come back to our law, statutes, and commandments, how powerful we will be. So, and we gotta keep that in mind instead of thinking that, okay, well, I don't know how this applies today. Look how these people operate. They following our laws, and you see how they get down. And they not even, like I said, they're not even the people. So if we come back to our laws, just imagine how much powerful it will be. You know. So then just get a Micah real quick. Let's get Micah. Start at 2:10. So it says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest." Meaning, we all want to live the American dream here in America, whatever we have, but we were sent to Babylon as a punishment. We wasn't taken here to America to live the American dream like those other folks. It says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest." Meaning, this is not a place for us to get comfortable and chill at. We're supposed to be remembering who we are, like how we are nowadays. You have a lot of, the movement is picking up. A lot of people are coming back to and understanding that, hey, maybe we are those people. Maybe, that stuff does make sense. So we're starting to remember. So it's telling us right here in Micah 2:10. It says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because this is polluted, and it shall destroy you, even with the sword of destruction." So this land is polluted, and it's polluted with our blood, the Native American blood, and and it's telling us this is not our land. Our land is over in Israel. That's where we rest at. And just to further, just get it in the GNT, right? See how it reads in the GNT. And it says, boom, 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 where we at with it? Start at 8. It says, "And the Lord replies, you attack my people like enemies when men return from battle thinking they are safe at home." So we're being attacked here in this place. Spiritually, mentally, physically, they coming at us. And it says, like men return from battle thinking they are safe at home. But there you are, waiting to steal the coast off their backs. So these people is waiting to take from us. That's why they got all these little laws. Like I said, that's why they can take $2 billion from Kanye overnight. I don't know how the hell anybody can lose that much money. I know people would have just blew their brains out knowing they just lost all that. Well, they would have lost. Them people, they would have blew their brains out if they know they lost that much money overnight. You know, you heard about when the stock market and stuff crashing, people was jumping out of buildings. So now if they was in Kanye West shoes and they lost billions of dollars overnight, it would have been dead, pale people all over the floor. Jumping out of the windows. So it says, where are we at? It says, take the coats off their back. You drive the women of my people out of their homes. They out of their homes they love, and you are robbed, and you have robbed their children of my blessings forever. So that's what they happens here in this place. And it says, get up and go. There is no safety here anymore. Your sins has doomed this place to destruction. These people want the kind of prophet who goes around full of lies and deceit and says, and that's what happened. We want to listen to these pastors that want to say, "Oh yeah, God is going to bless you and you're going to get all this type of stuff." And that's what it's telling us here in Micah. It says these people want a kind of prophet who goes around full of lies. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to read it straight out the Bible. I'm not talking my own vain words. I'm reading "Thus said the Lord." But you have these other pastors that, these prosperity gospel people that just want your money, and that's all they care about. Cause they trying to, it's a grab what you can scheme. They know this place is ending, so they trying to just stack up on all the money they think they can stack on before this place is destroyed. But I'm not here for that. I'm trying to give you the truth of the Bible, and it says these people want the kind of prophet who goes around full of lies and deceit. I prophesy that wine and liquor will flow for you. Meaning, like, you're gonna be living it up. You're gonna be doing well. No, we're not, because Russia got a missile aim at this place. They're gonna blow this bitch up. That's what's gonna happen. It's war on the around the corner. Nobody does good when it's war. Unless you the higher up police that and you selling weapons to everybody. So then you might be doing. But the common, like I said, research how the people was living during World War II and World War One. It was horrible for the average person during those times. And it says these people, they prophesied that wine and liquor will flow for you, but I will gather you together, all you people of Israel, not everybody, the people of Israel that are left, and I will bring you together like sheep returning to the fold. I will, like a pasture full of sheep, your your land will once again be filled with many people. So God's going to take us from all these different lands and stuff that we've been scattered to. So like I said, then we can be that nation who He promised us to be. God will open the way for them and lead them out of exile, and they will break out of the city gates and go free. Because we're not free here, And like I said, even with $1 billion in your pocket, you're still a nigger. And even with Kanye, with the million, not Kanye, Kyrie Irving, the millions of dollars that he got, still a nigger. They still control your pocketbook, no matter what. LeBron James is a billionaire athlete, and he can't speak. He can't say what he want to say because they would take his money just like they took Kanye billions. We're not free here, so quit thinking that you get all this money and now you just this super nigga now. No, your money has your oppressor face on it, and they can take that back from you and make you and subservient whenever they want. So we gotta break free of that attitude and understand that Yahweh, the Most High God, is the one that gives us these blessings, and come back to understanding who our true power is. And it says, I will gather you of all you people of Israel that are left. I will bring you together like sheep returning to the fold, like a pasture full of sheep. Your land will once again be filled with many people. God will open the way for them out of the city gates and go free. Their king, which is Yahweh Shai, who the world called Jesus, the Lord Himself will lead them out. So that's how we're gonna get free, and that's how we're gonna get back to the top. A black man by Yahweh Shai, who the world called Jesus, is gonna get us up out of here. So let's get let's go to Isaiah, right? Let's go to Isaiah 14:3. So Isaiah 14:3 says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrows, and from the fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. Because here in America, we are serving hard bondage. You got to go to work 40 hours a week, sometimes 80, hours a week. Some of us probably even putting in more than 80 hours a week. And that's hard bondage. And then you work all these hours, then you don't have a chance to enjoy your fruits of your labor. Not until you retire when you're like 65 and old as hell. Now you get to retire, then you can sit back and try to enjoy yourself. But your ass is old as hell. Now you got to take Viagra just to do something, if you know what I mean. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we serve hard bondage here, and that's not how it's supposed to be. But we've been doing it for so long that we think this is life, but it ain't. That's not living. So it says, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from hard bondage wherein you were made to serve. And like I said, back to the hard bondage thing too. You got people that's over 65 that's still working. You got people in their 70s. I used to work at this one spot. This lady was 88 years old. This Puerto Rican sister, 88 years old, still working. I mean, granted, she was still, had a wherewithal. She was moving around pretty good to be 88 years old. But she's 80 something years old, still working at, that's crazy, right? That's because this place is, it's not made for, what we think is made for. This is, the land of bondage. I would say, land of bondage, home of the enslaved. You know what I'm saying? That's what this place is. You know, the American dream been dead. So then let's go to 61 real quick. Isaiah 61, 61 and 6. So it says, but ye shall be named the priest of the Lord, and men shall call you ministers of God, and ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves in. So it's gonna come that time where we can sit back and have these people labor for us, like how we go to work, punch that clock, and we gotta, labor. We gotta spend like 12 hours a day of our day, laboring for them, building up their American dream. But then it's gonna come to a point in time where we sit back and they do that for us. It's called reversal of roles. It's called justice. It's called, that's how Yahweh is going to fix this thing. And it says, but ye shall be named priests of the Lord, and men shall call you ministers of God, and ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, meaning everybody that's not Israelites, and in their glory shall ye boast in. Meaning how they, like the guy that signs LeBron James' check. He can say, "Oh, I got this guy that can run and jump real fast, and he can dunk the basketball, and he's making me a whole bunch of money." He can boast in that. These people that sign, like Chris Rock got a joke about the difference between being rich and wealthy. He said Chris Rock joke was like basically saying that the person that signed Shaquille O'Neal's check is wealthy. Shaquille is rich. You know what I'm saying? So that guy that was signing Shaquille $100 million something dollar checks, he can boast that he got somebody as big as Shaq, that can, well, if he get mad enough, he can do whatever he wants to anything, you know, but he can boast that he got this man under control just by a stroke of a pen, you know. But we gotta understand like how deep this go. And it says, and ye shall be named the priests of the Lord, and men shall call you the ministers of God, and ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, right? And that's what's gonna happen. Just jump down to 10. Um, I will I will greatly rejoice in Yahweh. My soul shall be joyful in my power, for he has clothed me with the garments of salvation, and he has covered me with the robes of righteousness, as a bridegroom decked himself with the ornaments, and as a bride adorn herself with jewels. So, like I said, we're gonna be, able to, enjoy the riches, in that day, you know, and like well, like I said, it all come back to us following the commandments, getting back to our rightful, you know, understanding of who we are, coming back as a nation of people, of kings and priests, of the true Israelites, so we can get those things, right? Let's go back to 28 real quick. Deuteronomy 28. We're almost done here. So now Deuteronomy 28 and 2, it says, and all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, and if thou hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, so it's saying all these blessings will overtake us, right? So we're gonna be like blessed so much to the point that we ain't gonna know what to do with ourselves. And like I said, and all we have to do is come back to following the commandments and understanding that we are Israelites. We're not niggas. We're not spicks. We're not redskins. We're not Native. We're Israelites. The children of the Most High God. That's who we are, and we gotta understand that. And let's get jump down to 9 real quick. Then it says, Deuteronomy 28 and 9, and the Lord shall establish thee a holy people unto himself, us Israelites, as he has sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways. That's all we got to do. And the commandments are not hard. It's just that the church is not doing a good job of teaching the commandments. Because they tell us that the commandments are done away with, that we don't have to follow them. But here, no matter what chapter you go to in this Bible, you're going to find that you have to keep the commandments of God. Even if you get into the New Testament, you still have to keep the commandments. They have not changed. Because it says, tell you that in Micah that the Lord changed not. Right? So we can't have it both ways. So we got to understand, what we need to be doing. And all we need to understand is this. We can go to Ecclesiastes real quick. It'll be the last one before we close out. Ecclesiastes, we can go to 12 and 13. And this is all we need to be worrying about and focusing on. It says, um, Ecclesiastes. Let's go to Ecclesiastes. So this is all we need to understand, right? And so you're like, okay, what's going on? It says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Meaning, before you be so hasty to make a decision, understand the whole conclusion of the whole matter. And this is the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So this is all God wants to do. Forget all the exercise stuff, the glitter and the gold stuff. Just keep the commandments, and everything else will fall into place. That job you want, that house you want, that car you want, that woman you want, that man you want. Just keep the commandments, and all that stuff will come into place. All right? And so with that, I'm gonna say shalom. Hopefully this lesson was edifying. And so I'm gonna get up out of here. So peace. Shalom.